SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. That is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to the 2020 SmashFactor edition of the CJ Cup. Gup here, back fully rejuvenated from the long week last week of travel and work and a little bit of play, but not too much in Vegas. It was mostly work. This is week 6 of the 2020-2021 PGA season. Pretty solid week last week in general out there in Vegas. Great finish, 3-way playoff. I think a lot of the industry had bets on either Laird or Wolf. So I think everybody kind of anticipated Cook still in a way there in the playoff, because I don't know if anybody had a Cook ticket. But, you know, in general, I don't want to say it's kind of how you thought it'd play out. The unusual part is just the high cut line, -7. I kind of thought 6 was going to be it. As I was leaving Vegas around 4 o'clock local time out there. So it'd been around 7 o'clock Eastern time is when I was getting on the plane, and still thought 5 or 6 was in there. I was praying for 5 originally because I had Redmond and I had a really good lineup that still wind up doing well. Scored like 590 points. Did well in all the single entry stuff. Kind of saved my week as far as breaking even. I was up for a little while Sunday, but some guys that were in there kind of fell back. But, you know, Neiman charged on the weekend for me. HV3 did a good job. Hard double there at the end. Cam Davis was in that lineup, had like 7 birdies or something on Sunday, but he had 2 doubles and a bogey. So his score for the day didn't look great, but he actually outscored his position. One of those cases where he played well all week and had, I think he may have been one. Him or Neiman did real well compared to the position. Both may have, but one had, you know, you get the eagle, you get a streak and stuff like that. It was a little frustrating. I mean, everybody was kind of, when you get a minus, even the pro golfers were kind of saying that. But, you know, the nice thing is, I mean, not nice thing, but the kind of validity of the course, the winds picked up a little bit, got tougher, and Sunday played pretty difficult, and it allowed for some huge movements. I mean, there are some guys that shot +4, +5 on the same course that people were shooting, you know, 6, 7, 8 under all the time. So you can see where certain courses are, you know, you can only, the wind may be their only protection type deal. It's very similar. Think of Pebble, you know, when we played the PGA Championship there, you know, or no, it may have been the U.S. Open. Yeah, it's U.S. Open, because, you know, was going to be playing hard, but you have to have the wind out there to make that play at the optimal, you know, difficulty. And there's just courses out there like that, and it's wide open there in Vegas, and so the wind really causes it to be difficult. If there's no wind or very little wind, which there wasn't, you know, the 2-day, well, I was out there 3.5 days, but I don't even think Saturday really, until the wind kind of moved in. These guys are just, you know, pin hunting at that point. So you get it, but it's hard. I mean, what can you do, right? These courses they're built how they're built. And if they're only, you know, line of strength is basically the wind or, you know, something like that, there's not much they can do. They're just going to go out there. I mean, they could try to make the greens, you know, as hard as they can, but to some point it's just going to be like that at certain courses. So overall, I mean, the community did well. We had a lot of guys, cash tons. Betting, still catching up on that, but I know some close calls. Had Neiman and HV3 T5 bets. Both of them kind of got right there at the end and then didn't quite get over the line. Willie Z, I put as a FOMO bet at 50-1, and then came back Thursday night and he was still 40-1, so I released it. He hovered again. Sung Jae, we had an outright on. He kind of hovered around on Sunday. You know, I had Wolf in doubles. I went Reed over Hatton in my doubles, and that kind of cost me. But at the end, I didn't have Laird. Kenny Kim had him, put him on Thursday night. He had a top 20 bet on him pre-tournament that he released Wednesday in his article for the premium members. And then he added, I think, 150-1 bet on him Thursday night after the round ended. So that a lot of people saw that. I was actually in meetings during all that, so I actually kind of missed it. Or I probably would have played it myself, which kind of sucks. But I'm glad the community got a piece of that and made out there. Matchups did well for me, I think. So I need to go back and look. Sunday was good in NFL. I'll do my recap tonight, obviously, just catching up from being gone and mainly focus on getting this out. And then the NFL content for tonight, showdown, and may look at the 2-game slate stuff. I'm not sure how big it is this week. It was bigger last week when the 2 games were both on Monday night, but main focus tonight will be showdown. Then we'll probably get a nice little showdown again tomorrow. But good week all the way around. I mean, a lot of winners out of all the sports across the board. Right now, we kind of soft launched last week and then fully kind of started rolling out promos and stuff on the, Gups Corner March to the Madness promo going now through Sunday of Augusta. We will 30% off with the code MASTERS. If you're a current member, you can also upgrade, reach out to us. We send out emails as well to everybody based on their kind of membership type and all that kind of stuff with special pricing during this time for current members. If you didn't get that, you can always DM us and let us know, or email support@gupscorner.com. We'll get you taken care of. We are making room for new inventory coming in for the new year and stuff, doing our biggest merchandise sell to date. Use the code Augusta and get 40% off any items in the store. The nice thing on the HV3 thing is, even though you're getting 40% off, we're still going to donate the full amount like we would. I'm not going to short their foundation because we're doing a sale is basically what I mean. So we're trying to get those flushed out so we can get them a nice little donation before the end of the year for all the sales on those shirts. So you've been looking to add a shirt, and a lot of people love them. A lot of people buy 2 just because they're so comfortable and nice. Very high quality stuff that now's the time to do it. Biggest discount we've had. So go check that out as well. Listener League, still waiting on the text that may have just came in actually to get that out. Obviously DraftKings had been a little busy with as ever been well documented, the scoring issues. DraftKings was just mainly college football. Well, it was just college football. They had a backup plan for NFL, and it went off smoothly yesterday, but they still didn't. I think they just released college football monies from the stat stuff around noon today. FanDuel's on a whole different world. I saw probably 20 minutes before I came on the pod, looks like they're finally releasing the NFL, but it's going slowly. So I saw some jokes and stuff on Twitter. It was kind of funny, but I imagine those guys' hands are full, but we will have the Listener League out as always. So, check that out. Earn your way into the kind of League of Champions pool we got going. This week's winner was Westy 132. Solid lineup: Wolf, D-Cham, Hoffman, Laird, and Kim. Definitely a Gups Corner follower. Got some Kenny Kim love in there. Had some guys I was on. The D-Cham was the only one that I kind of just played the dice again. And up until Saturday, I thought, man, here we go again. A complete fade, and he's going to dominate, him or Cantley. But I went with Cantley, as far as my pool goes. And then he collapsed Saturday, and that's when I kind of went up the board pretty good. Come back, he had a solid Sunday, but he he still didn't return per se the value by the time the tournament was over. Just one bad round there, but his entire lineup did solid. So good for him. Hopefully he had that in a little bit more in just that lineup. Looking forward to watching that thing grow. Everybody I'm getting people coming in, and we actually have some guys coming back and they're hearing about it and asking, hey, I won a few weeks ago. So this just started with the Safeway Open, in case you're listening. It was new for this year. I didn't want to start at mid-year, and I get, Kenny Kim and Tambo kind of had that deal going, and, kind of gave them credit. I like the idea. I think it's cool. We've tossed around with something like that before, but, to do it from the start and get it all throughout the season, I think will be awesome. We're doing it for NFL too. NFL, I'm doing top 3 each week, get into the League of Champions, because there's only going to be 15 weeks as opposed to, golf will have 40-ish or something like that. So we'll have plenty of guys in that final tournament where we'll give away prizes. Before we get to the tournament preview this week, do want to remind you on the March to the Masters deal, everybody that signs up or upgrades, we're going to have huge raffles the Monday after Augusta, giving away prizes. Because of my impromptu trip last week, I'm a little behind on finalizing those. I know I'll have them done certainly before Monday. I hope to even get them done Wednesday, so I can kind of talk about it on E9 this week. I will have a live E9 this week. mainly, but because I think it's going to be imperative listening to the guys that are doing the practice rounds and reading people around the course and all that kind of stuff to see what we can pick up and may tweak a little bit, between where we think now compared to, Wednesday night, even Thursday morning, because it's back in Vegas. So I'm going to have that late start, tinkering type time. If you're not familiar, they are playing at Shadow Creek this week. You can go listen to Fantasy DGen podcast, check out Kenny Kim on there, or become a premium member and get his full breakdown, course breakdown, and added plays and likes on Wednesdays. It's a par 72. Looks like it's probably going to play around 7,600-ish. But the altitude, being the dry heat and all that kind of stuff, it will play a lot shorter than that. So, a typical par 72 course, when you factor all that in, it's Bermuda fairways, but bent grass greens, similar to last week. Fazio design. He also did a restoration in 2008. It's kind of a high roller resort destination type course is what it was built for. Steve Wynn was behind it originally in 2000, I think is when it was, or maybe in the 90s. I can't remember when he did it, but and at that time, the only people that could play it were guys that he had invited. And then MGM bought it in 2000. And after that point, I think if you're staying at MGM, stuff like that, certain people can still get on. It's still pretty exclusive and stuff like that. It's not very open to the public per se. But because of that resort tile, I'm struggling with how's it going to play. Because the one thing that just doing research, the course record before the 08 restoration was, I think, a 60. And then since 2008, DJ actually holds the record after the restoration, and it's a 66. So I think they made it a little bit tougher. But I don't know how many PGA. I don't even know when DJ played, if that was an event or if he just happened to go out there and shoot the course record. I'm not 100% familiar on that. But I tend to think where they're going to play from, as opposed to some of those guys that fly in and may play up tees. I think it's going to be a little challenging at times. There's going to be some things. And we saw, we don't know, right? We're hindsighting it. This is obviously where Tiger and Phil played. I mean, they kind of struggled that day, and we were kind of like, man, is this just they suck now because they're older? Or I don't think at the time we were even paying attention. Is this course kind of difficult or tough? I went back and watched that, and just to get some, try to pick up on things where I'm going to look at stat wise for the course and all that. I think it's going to be challenging to an extent. I don't think it's going to be as crazy scoring as last week. I don't think it's going to be like 12 under. I'm going to say maybe 15 to 18 is kind of the range I'm looking at. It's 74 players in it, no cut event. It is a big pot, guaranteed pot, 10 million. So, you'll see, that's why a lot of these big names are here. Cause for them, if they got invited or whatever, they're guaranteed money, and probably more than anything, they can start to get their game worked in for Augusta. So we have the CJ Cup this week, and then Zozo Championship. Tiger returns for that. He's a defending champ at Sherwood Country Club. It got moved, obviously, just like CJ Cup. That's normally at Nine Bridges in Korea. Then we have the Bermuda Championship, which is normally a alternate field event. It's normally played, I believe, the same week that we normally get the WGC HSBC. WGC is canceled. The PGA has made the Bermuda a full event. It'll be interesting. It's the one that Brennan Todd won last year. It'll be interesting to see how many people want to go play that, because normally it's, again, alternate field event, but it gets 500 points. You get into the Master. You get all that kind of stuff. So I think you'll get a stronger field there than normal, but it may be a point in time that people take that week off, go play the Houston Open, which is the week after, and then the Masters. So that's kind of where we're at as we wrap up what we're calling our season, mainly because of all the contests you got going, GC Cup, one and done, stuff like that, or anything that got moved like that in the industry kind of is ending on the Masters now. For the PGA season, like I said, this is week 6 of their 2020, 2021 as far as FedEx Cup points and all that stuff goes. So they'll roll right on through after that with, the RSM Classic, Mayakoba, and then we kind of get that break before we come back for the Hawaii swing of the tournament champions and the Sony Open. Just kind of set where we are on the week or on the season and all that kind of stuff. So weather concerns, none. It actually looks probably even better than last week. Not quite as hot at peak times, but it's going to be low 90s, a little bit of a northeast wind right now. It really looks nice all 4 days as it sits right now. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on that, see if anything changed by Sunday, but for now, it looks great. The cut, there is no cut, like I mentioned. Winning score, I'm going to go like minus 16. I think it's 15 to 18 is kind of where I'm pinpointing it, unless we hear differently. And I'm going to try to listen to as many of these little pressers that they run as I can the next couple of days, so we can get a better idea, especially for E9, which I think will be important this week to have the E9. There's not a lot of guys to talk about, so this pod may be shorter than normal, but how we set up our attack for the, our game script, if you will, of how the course is going to play out. It's a no cut, so typically you're looking at scoring, all that kind of who compete or have the big runs, even though they get a guaranteed 4 rounds. So that all factors in just like normal. There's a psychological part which will never going to be till we figure out is who's here just to quote it's guaranteed money, and they can start getting their game back in form if they've had time off. Brooks will be one to talk about. Anybody going to pay up for Brooks this week, or is he's been off forever? And is he coming back because he's fully healthy, or is it, hey, I am healthy, but I got to get the tournament rust shaken off and grind my way so I can be competitive at the Masters. So that's kind of a big narrative I think people will try to spin around. And hopefully we can gain advantage by the time we get to Wednesday. Obviously, there's a new course on tour as far as a PGA event, so everybody's playing it for their quote unquote the first time on tour. I don't know if any of these guys have got the luxury going. Obviously DJ has, but to go play it prior to privately or something like that, I'm sure many of them have if they've been out in Vegas, because it's one of those courses people want to put check the box and say I got to play it. I'd love to play it someday. Pricing was kind of interesting. I got it pretty spread out. Hearing the industry talk and all that, I start that kind of research tomorrow. I'll be interested to see how people talk about I was a little surprised there were 6 in the 10K. There's 9 in the 9K, 10 in the 8K, 16 in the 7K, 33 in the 6K. So a lot of eye candy down the 6 and 7K, because a lot of those guys have been playing here at the Corrales, the Sanderson and Shriners, and they've been 9,200. Now they're like 6,700. So I think you'll get some bias there. People go, man, I'm saving a lot of money on this guy. But again, as I always say, it's relative to the field. So kind of get through that part and figure out who are still good plays, regardless if they dropped. Now we had, like last week, we had a couple guys that dropped for no reason. Redmond was one of them. Probably chalky, could have easily faded. He shoots 5 under. I thought I would take that any week. So I don't really hate the play, but he just dropped too much, almost $2,000. So not a lot of that this week. People that dropped, it's just the way naturally the field went to me. It's all these big boys are back, so it's going to move the guys down. If you're new to the pod, I do the Dirty Dozen. We got 4 tiers. The first 3 tiers are pricing. The last tier is a flop, a fade, and a sleeper. And then I do my last 4 out and my gut field plays. We talk about a little betting, smaller field, so you kind of have to be picky there. One and done strategy. It is still one and done season. We're almost done, and then we'll wrap it up and get out of here. Like I said, you can only digest so much, and I don't want to throw out 80, 70 names of the 74 and just confuse you. So as we sit here on a Monday afternoon, I want to get down to the guys I think I'm on right now, update it through the content tomorrow, deep dive, and then wrap it all into one big, final on Wednesday once we have more information from the players and everything in the industry to see where people are going. For me, I'm going to go back to DJ. I don't know where. This is 9K or above, first tier. I assume Rom will get some love. JT will get some love. All these guys probably will. And I think I think ownership will actually probably be spread out, because I think you can make a case for any of these guys to be a good play this week. I think Rory or Wolf may be the lowest. Rory, just because he's kind of coming in, not playing quote unquote to his level, but he's still got 8th at the U.S. Open, taking some time off. He's not going to rank out as well as these other guys when you look at the last, 18, 16, 24, 30 rounds. So people may just pay up to go to JT or go down to, Shoffley, who quote unquote, has the name for doing well and no cut events. We'll probably hear that 20 times, but Wolf will probably, and then Wolf, just because I think, one of these don't look like the other type of deal. People see Wolf at 10,000. Like, wait, is he there yet? Is that so? He's at that level with He's 1,200 more than Scheffler, which Scheffler was kind of a darling. That's going to be interesting to see where people go to. But I like DJ. Somewhat worries me coming off of a break at times, but man, he was on fire when he went into it. If I'm going to pay up at this price this week, he's a guy I'm going to go to and just take my chances there. I was intrigued to see that he currently holds a course record at 66. So obviously something that he can score on. Stats wise, he's number 2, recent form number 1, course fit number 3. And in my model this week, I just try to pull in courses, Fazio type courses and other courses I thought fit this design for the premium members. So, went that route. I did show their placement at the CJ Cup the last 3 years, but, it's kind of irrelevant, playing over at Nine Bridges compared to this course. But I went ahead and kept it on there. But the actual fit column is for how I think this course is going to play and how these guys play at those typical type courses, factoring a little bit of their bent grass splits. My next play is going to be Wolf. I think he'll be the lowest in the 10,000 or more. And so if this is a week where ownership leverage does matter. So last week I was kind of saying, just the way everything went out and everything I wrote into my final thoughts, I thought ownership doesn't mean as much because everything was so spread out that I was more focused on playing the guys I thought were going to do well as opposed to gaining just a little bit of edge here or there. It obviously always has a point in place in time, but last week less, this week more. You only have 74 guys in the field. Everybody's playing 4 rounds unless they withdraw. So where you can get leverage matters. And these guys, especially when you break down each range, you're splitting hairs on how good they are. So, when you talk JT, DJ, Rahm, Rory, even Schauffele, Morikawa, those kind of guys, like if I can gain a big leverage on the field, and there's so much unknown about this week. A lot of these guys have had 2 or 3 weeks off or more. We don't exactly know how the course is going to play yet. I'll take that leverage because it's worth the risk to me this week. So I think Wolf will be the lowest up there by far. And so I like Wolf. And then next 9K or above, I like Berger. He's just been playing well for a long time. Everything I see about the course, I think fits his game pretty well. 9,300, he's kind of in a sweet spot among pricing and could get overlooked there. You got Finau, Hatton coming off the win overseas, right down there. Morikawa 9,500. He'll be a hot darling. He always is. Hovland 9. People may go to him. Typically Fleetwood's there. He's been playing pretty decent overseas as well. So, again, I think in general, these kind of no-cut limited field events, ownership's pretty spread out. So for that way, you may not have much ownership decisions because it's like 2% difference. Who cares? But there may be spots or builds or the way that your pool comes together where you can get leverage. So we want to do that where we can. 7,600 to 8,900 is the next tier. I like Scheffler. He's my first one here. I'm going to assume by Wednesday he's going to be one of the higher owned type guys just because of the price discount. He's number 4 in my stat model, number 2 in my recent form. He missed the cut last week, so maybe a lot of people get off of him that were on him, but I don't mind the bounce back week for him, and I think he can go low when you need to at events like this. And getting 4 rounds of Scheffler to me is intriguing, so I like him at 8,800. Garcia, I'm interested to see where he goes. I think a lot of people left him after his win, and he did well. He finished 43rd, but didn't have the strongest finish, but he was doing okay. Same kind of setup. He's going to be back on bent where he seems to do well at. 10th in my stat model. We know ball, tee to green is great, and ball striking is right there, among the top. So I like everything about him. And if 8,400 kind of gives you a discount, Harris English has been a pretty popular person down in that range. Paul Casey, I'm sure is going to be one of the highest owned at 8,000, or seems to be a lot, even though when I don't think he's still going to be. He missed a cut too last week. So I think Garcia may just go overlooked again, and maybe I don't have to get a lot of leverage on him to play some of them. So I like Garcia this week. I'm going to go back to Neiman. Form is really coming in, playing great. 23rd at the Open, 13th last week. He's not going to always pop on stats. He's always pretty good ball striking, good approach. I think some people think, can he go low like you need? But last week he finished right there. Strong weekend. I can't remember what his technical. Oh, here 13th. So I know he was top 8 or 9 for a while. I think he bogeyed 18 to fall out of the top 5, and then as the afternoon went on a little bit, he fell down on 13th. But 7,500 is a good price for him for me. So he's a great build right there in the middle. So I like the price a lot. Even though he's mid-pack for me as far as total overall rankings go, I like Neiman. And I'm always a Neiman type guy, but I like where his form in. And he always seems to be, so far in his young career, when his form's on, you seem to want to ride it. So I like that this week. And I liked he played last week a little bit, acclimated already, the weather, dry air, all that kind of stuff. So I like him. 7,500 or less. Russell Henley, a guy I liked last week, not much of a price to, 7,100 this week. He's number 1 in my stats. Really kind of comes down to, can he get hot putting, but $7,100, that's fairly cheap. Finished 27th last week, so paid off all right. He's number 1 in bogey avoidance for me, which I think, and maybe I have to change that by Wednesday, but I don't know how many people originally are even going to look at bogey avoidance, but kind of just looking at the clips and stuff I have seen, like, I think you're going to have to I don't think it's going to be a birdie fest. I think scoring is going to matter because you get 4 days of it, but I think not reeling off a ton of bogeys could be a differentiator when we're looking at things. So I like Henley this week. Siwoo Kim, I'm going to ride that streak. That's my free play bet of the week, actually 100 to 1. Probably top 5 it or top 10 it. I don't know. I can't remember on no cuts. I need to make more notes on where the books go as far as top 10, top 20 when you only have 74 guys in the field. But for sure we'll do, the 100 to 1. I'm sure they're going to have top 5, so he's a candidate for that. Form's been really good coming in. 37th 2 weeks ago and 8th last week. He was right there. He was very frustrated on his 18th putt as he tossed the ball wherever he did it. Give the old fist pump when the ball rolled off the hole. So, he cares, which is one thing I do like, but he's coming in really good. I think 7,100 is really cheap for him. So another guy that can allow you to maybe stack some of these bigger, if you're trying to get 2 big boys up top, or, maybe a high 9 and 10 up top, you get a Kim and a Henley type build going, or Neiman, something like that, opens up some leverage when you go drop down to the lower end of that 7. So I like Siwoo this week. Next one, similar deal, $7,000. Munoz, he just keeps grinding. It really doesn't get a lot of talk up. 125 to 1 is a good number for him. 11th in recent form, last 3 tournaments, made the cut at the U.S. Open. We know how hard that was. A 59th overall, 23rd at the Sanderson, 27th at the Shriners, $7,000. Another good price point, to fit these guys in. I think he goes out there and win. I'm not sure, but I think he can go out there and get to 13, 14, 15 under, and depending on how we think this tournament's going to be, he could be right there. He's hitting the ball great and been playing well even beyond the last 4 tournaments. So I kind of like where he's at right now, and that price tag is nice to me. Flop, this was pretty easy. I just didn't know which one to go to, and they both just seem to be struggling to me, and it's Day and Fowler. Fowler actually should have probably made the cut. He goes like 5 over in a 2 or 3 hole stretch on Friday. To miss the cut, hasn't had great form. Day's missed the cut as well. He got a 38 at the U.S. Open, so not horrible. So I went with Day overall, $8,300 as a flop. I do think Ricky has a potential to get it back quicker, and he does love bent greens. He just had a 2-hole, 3-hole stretch that killed him last week. He shoots like -2 or -1, but he lost 5 strokes. So, you're talking about he'd have been 6. He would have been right there on that cut line coming in had he not done that. And you could kind of see his morality kind of go down after those holes, because he knew at that point, you had to be pretty low, which he was. It's going to be hard to make up 5 strokes. So I think if he can keep a good start and not have those big holes, he could do all right. So I went with the fade with Day. The flop with Day. He's going to get 4 rounds for sure, but he's also a candidate for the withdrawal. How much he factored in, not a ton, but if I'm tie breaking there, that's where I kind of went with as my flop this week. My fade is probably going to be Rahm, and only he's the highest priced, and I want to get exposure to Rahm and DJ. And since I'm playing DJ, unless for some reason people just fall down to JT and those guys over X over and over and over, Rory even, and Rahm's going to be a low owned guy I can get even level to the field, then I don't mind it. But he's had a big break, and sometimes maybe takes him a little, could take him longer to get fired up and kind of in groove. Now, him getting 4 rounds obviously scares you, but at the price tag, no different than DJ. I mean, he's got to be up top 5 in the scoring to kind of pay off there. It's 74 guys in the field. I think a lot of people will be high on him, and I just like DJ a little bit more. So my fade this week is John Rahm as we sit here on Monday afternoon. Kind of see where the industry is by Wednesday, but I don't see that changing too much. My 1B fade, but I kind of thought at 8,000, I don't know how much. Like my true fade will be Paul Casey. If people are going to continue to hype him up, he's 8,000. I'm sure that's a good price. He missed the cut again last week. He's just so hit or miss right now in his game. Like that's a person I will fade. But I wanted to kind of make a stance up top, at least talk about it. So then like I'm being a cop out there, and Ron would be the one I kind of move off of up top as it sits today. My sleeper is Palmer. I love Palmer. Rinse and repeat for me, right? I've talked about him over and over and over. Nothing changes for me. He gets a 34th last week. Made a run at times there. I don't remember if he finished bad Saturday or something. Not bad, but just kind of fell off a little bit. He's 8th in stats for me. He's a guy I like in the no-cut type. I think it relaxes him even more. We know he's got his exemption, so I just like him to go out there and have a good week. And 6,700 is a great price for a guy that can make birdies in a hurry. And for him, because his issue, if you go back and even look at some of his tournaments, is always seems to be like water ball or sand or something where he gets like a 9 or an 8 or a quad. And then can't overcome that, even though he gets 6 birdies or something after that. So I like no cut events for Palmer because I don't have to worry about sweating. Can he make through the cut? And even 2 or 3 bad holes won't outweigh the birdies. He's number 1 for me, stroke gain iron play, which is a combo stat that we have in our tool set at the Gups Corner. So I love that this week. I think he's going to be a good play. He's 58th in bogey avoidance, for instance. So I think his big numbers are there, but this is a week where if he may be able to outscore and being $6,700. I really like that for him this week. So sleeper of the week, Palmer, 6,700. I define sleeper in this category as 6,900 or less. On my premium content that we put out, obviously in the site, I do talk about sleepers as far as ownership and that kind of thing goes once we get more into Wednesday. My last 4 out this week, Sung Jae right there on the cusp, 8,700. I think he's getting closer and closer and closer. I played him last week, finished 13th. I mean, we know the dude can win. We know he can birdies in a hurry. He loves playing golf. So he's firing it right back up. I like Sung Jae this week. Rose, I kind of want to see where the industry goes with him. I feel like the 7,800 is going to attract a lot of people. So I put him as my last 4 out, but I don't mind playing him. 7th overall in stats, 14th in recent form. If he's going to be a lower owned guy, if he's going to be chalky, I don't know with Casey there how that's going to work out. So he's a guy I got my eye on. So he was the last 4 out. Schauffele, same deal. Schauffele's normally pretty popular in this deal. I like Schauffele. He's number 7 overall in my rankings. I like the other 3 I picked more, but I want to see how chalky the chalk gets this week. And so he's on my radar. Last 4 out, Schauffele. And then my last 4 out is Matsu, 9,200. Good price for him. I like him in no-cut events. I like him in birdie, that kind of everything he does. He's a guy that can get a big number every once in a while. So given guaranteed 4 rounds, he missed a cut last week, hurt me a little bit. So maybe people get off of him at that price. So I like him. I think people may go to the Finau route and all that kind of stuff I mentioned earlier in the low 9s. So I like Matsu right on the edge for me. Gut feel plays. Brooks, I had to see where everybody goes with them. But if he's going to be that 5-7%, because no one wants to take that risk, especially in a GPP build, I would be willing to at least get leverage on the field. Maybe if he's 7, I want to get 10. He's a gut feel play that because he gets the 4 rounds, you're not having to worry about cut making and all that. Even when he was struggling, we saw that where he'd start off like 3 over and then finished 7 birdies after that a few times, just never enough to make the cut. The cuts he was missing, he's missing by 1 here, 1 there. The price and him coming back off injury and all that, I'm sure will scare everybody away. So I'm hoping gut feel, low own, we can get a little bit of leverage and take the risk because I think it is a tournament and a style this week to take that risk. I like Finau. He's typically pretty popular. He's obviously coming off the COVID deal. So 9,400, let's see how that looks come Wednesday. He's kind of there on the gut feel. Hovland, I think more people just don't put him in that category of Wolf and Morikawa. And I think he's close enough that I get him at 9,000. I think he'll be a little bit lower than those guys and people around him that I like him right there when we talk about it. And then probably the one that most will mention that is kind of super savings, GPP only is Ju Young Kim, the kind of phenom, 18-year-old. Been playing extremely well. Finished 33rd at the Corrales. Just a young stud. He's going to be great down the road. And at $6,400, I think if you're doing 20, or I think if you're doing 10 or more lineups, he's worth at least 10%. So you can put him in 1 of 10. If you're doing 20 lineups, you put him in 2, maybe 5% is enough. But I think he's someone you can put on your radar. Super, super cheap. Take a risk on, gut feel type of deal. I think he'll probably get talked up some, but I don't know how much that is when you talk about, talked up a lot. So I like him as a gut feel play to wrap it up. Betting strategy, just first 10 that kind of pop for me. Henley 80 to 1, Neiman 66 to 1, M 33 to 1, Wolf 20 to 1, Siwoo Kim 100 to 1. That was a free play of the week. It's already bet and released. Berger 33 to 1, Palmer. These next 3 are, I may go outright or I may just do a top 5, top 10, depending on what the books start to put out there for this event. Palmer 150, Munoz 125, Ju Young Kim I just talked about 250 to 1. That'll definitely probably, if I can just get a top 10 even, would be nice. I don't know if I'd do an outright. And then Scheffler 28 to 1 is kind of where I'm looking. Got the big boys up top. It's hard to go too big and too deep because it's not that all of them have to do well, but the odds are that you're going to have a DJ, a JT, a Rahm, a Rory, Wolf, even Berger, Schauffele, Morikawa. One or two of those guys, maybe even 3, are going to be right there come Sunday. So you really got to kind of get unique with how you want to use your bankroll this week. Depending on what's out there, maybe do some more top 5 type deals on these higher odd guys, in case they don't close the deal. But Scheffler's probably the low. Now Wolf's the lowest I'd go. I hadn't pulled the trigger yet, but he's 20. I think he can win, and almost did last week, and he's, I like his competitiveness. He does well. He gets in trouble at times and kind of blows up, but he definitely a no-cut event. I like him because we've seen what he can do. He can get on humongous streaks, going 4, 5, 6 under on a back 9 or a front 9 easily. One and done. We're to the end now. So you're either alive or you're not. And if you are, you need to be playing your DJ, your Rahm, your JT, your Rory, your X, someone like that. And I would just peek at pencil mark who you think you may play at the Masters, because that's really the biggest 2 left. And I believe at least last year, the Zozo was at least the same type of payout as CJ Cup. So maybe those 3 you look at, and pencil those in and see who else you have left. I at least walk through it, especially if you're up there. And if you're just a little bit behind, so if you're top 100 right now, you probably think you're out of it. You're not. You may go, all right, who's high up there that I have that no one else really has, not as many people have, and maybe play a little strategy there, do a little research. If you're in it, it's worth it at least. So that's where I'd be. If you're kind of just dead to everything, you're looking for the skin, I think there's some good options there. I think you go Neiman, Henley, Siwoo, Ryan Palmer, Munoz, those kind of guys that have good upside. Nobody may be on. I would say like a Fleetwood, stuff like that, but I think there's be at least 2 or 3 people playing those kind of guys just on name alone. So you really want, like, I don't know how many people would play a Munoz right now to win this thing. Someone like that, they're just kind of good enough, has done well, could come out of nowhere and win it that nobody else may be on. Cameron Champ, right? Not coming in with great form, certainly worth, maybe a flyer in DFS this week at 6,400. He could show up and win it, right? He's got the talent, and no one may be on him. So that's kind of where I'd be this week. As I mentioned earlier, unless we just get no interaction at all, I'm planning on doing an E9 this week. We're doing it earlier when we're doing them, starting at 4:30 Eastern time, 3:30 my time. I may even reach out to Kenny and see if he wants to hop on, knock that out, have a little fun on Wednesday, and then have him back on for the Masters. So look forward to seeing you guys Wednesday night. I'll have showdown stuff out tonight for tonight's game, do showdown tomorrow, return of Coupled Gup. Now that I'm back in home, I'll do that tomorrow morning, kind of looking at first look of football lines, a little bit more golf talk about power rankings, all the, changes over, again, injuries and all that kind of stuff. So looking forward to that. And then I'll see you guys Wednesday for E9 and then Thursday for the coin flip. Have a blessed week, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.
SmashFactor.